Hello students, this is online Jamb class academy and my name is Nupurtani. So today our next topic is the part of the natural habitat that we have studied earlier. So let's start our screen and by recalling the previous lecture. Okay. So we have studied uh, natural habitat, right? What is natural habitat as we have studied earlier, right? The part of the natural habitat, the natural habitat is an ecological or the environment area, like where the specific species live, like our house and all that. It is a place the natural that particular species call home. As I told you, our natural habitat is our home. Same goes with the animals, plants, and other different species and biodiversity and everything. We have studied about the chimpanzee for the examples, like the trees there where they can swing and jump and for the food also. So let's recall this all the lectures and we'll move forward our fourth type of natural habitat. So type of the natural habitat as you have studied, though first of all is forest. We have studied where forest can be found, that is the part where a population are dense. So the many forests are all over the world and many diverse species are all over the world. So from that we can say that forests are the type of the habitat where lots of the trees are found. And what are the two limiting factors that can derive the habitat? That is the temperature and the precipitation. It means the rainfall. So in order the forest to survive, it needs a water source that will support the large amount of trees, as we have studied. Because if we find a lots of the trees, it means there is a large amount of water and temperature. See, these are the example of the tropical. As I told you, many different types of the forest are there. So here the example of is the tropical rainforest, one type of the forest. And example of the animals which found in the tropical rainforest is red-eye tree frog. See, this is the red-eye tree frog. And that also found near the streams, ponds, and river. So from this we can say that it is a area where precipitation is observed. Abundance of water is there, so the plants or the species, it is a plenty of the resources, it has the plenty of the resources that can survive, right? Next is wetlands. As we have studied earlier, wetlands, this is the lecture where I'm going to start to recall the types of the forest and then we will move forward for the another type of the natural habitat. So wetland is also another natural habitat for the many animals. What we can say, that how we can identify, how we can characterize that this is the wetland. So wetland is an area where water is present at least a part of the year, because wetland, it means the wet, so obviously the water is present. The water is usually present during a portion of the plant growing season. Obviously then water is the plant will be there. So and marshes are also a type of the wetlands where different species and animals live. Amphibians, as I told you, what is the amphibians? Amphibians is an animals that lives, that needs the what type of habitat? Water and the land, right? That is a bilingual. So marshes are also home to other species such as painted turtle, muscats, and the small birds. Okay, and this provides the shelter, food, abundance of the insects that live around the marshes too, because they're the food source. Plants are there, obviously the animals will be there, insects will be there, food source will be there, the place to meet or breeding ground is there, obviously. So let's move next towards our next. This is the desert. As I told you, on the opposite spectrum of the forest and the wetlands are the desert. Why it is called the deserts? Because that is totally opposite to the forest and the wetlands. Forest, it means the lots of trees or the abundance of trees, which is not present in the desert. And other thing is the water or the wetland precipitations. So here water is not, at least there is a scarcity of the water in the desert area. See, deserts are defined as having less than 10 inches of rainfall per year and very low rate of precipitations. See, here the rainfall is very less. That's why the rate of precipitation is obviously very low. They are very dry and it takes unique species to call a desert a home. Not every species can survive in the desert. So there is a unique species that is only the specified to the desert. As we can say that desert where camel can live. That is a common in the layman language example. We can say that we used to know that the camel can live in the desert. So here is one of the example is the Gila monster. Is one animal that lives in the desert. See what Gila monster do? They are the predators, right? They kill, and who spend most of the time in burrows underground. So they make the burrows, that is a type of the hole underground, and they used to live there and do most of the hunting during the day. At the time of the day, see, during the day there's a lots of temperature, but this Gila monster can survive in the desert. Obviously, they can survive in the hot temperature, so it is easy for them, or they can adapt, or they are acclimatized to do their activities in the during the daytime, like hunting, eating foods, and searching for the foods and predating, right? So these are the examples. So we can study, we can see that in the desert there are lots of temperature, high temperature, and scarcity of the trees and the water. Desert trees are also there, they are specified, or they are the unique species, we can say that. Next is Arctic tundra, right? There are lots of natural habitats out there, but today we have studied, in prior lecture we have studied forest and wetlands, and today we have studied this desert, and this last one is Arctic tundra, right? So as even more unique natural habitat is the Arctic tundra. See, in forest there is a both equal proportion, like water and temperature, precipitations and temperature both are equally or the same equally, right? So the trees needs that amount of the temperature and the waterfall they will receive, and there's a dense populations of trees. And in wetlands there are this, even there is a at least a half of the years, or the specific portion of the water is present when the tree growing seasons are there. So in both this area there's a temperature and the precipitations are equally, or some type of that combination is present. But in desert these both are less, right? And in Arctic tundra, see, the temperature is high in the desert and the temperature is low in the Arctic tundra. That's why the ice is there. We know that, right? See, as the Arctic tundra has very short days and the long nights. The climate is very harsh, and only very tough and well adapted species will survive here. See, in desert, unique species can survive because it is somewhat little proportion of easy in comparison to the Arctic tundra. But in this very tough temperature, it is in the minus, totally filled with the ice and the glaciers, and well adapted species will survive here. The growing season is here is only 50 to 60 days long. In the whole year, there's only 50 to 60 days. This is a growing season where you can see the plants and other species are there. Despite the harsh climate, Arctic tundra is still the natural habitat of many species. See, like what we can say that snowy owls, polar bears, and the Arctic fox and all this. The Arctic, it means they used to live in the ice. So that is the place for their natural habitat. As we have our home, we are acclimatized to our temperature, our body, and all this are maintained in this type of area. Like same goes with the animals and the plants which used to survive in the desert, either in the Arctic tundra. They are acclimatized or adapted by their area, or by the climate or the weather, right? Animals such as snowy owls, as I told you, polar bears. Why it is snowy owls? Everything that, see, there's a mention prior that snowy owls, it means that the skin of the owl is also white in the color. You should observe, you can get that image. So it is the snowy owls, polar bears. Actually their skin is made like that, that they can survive in the Arctic area. Okay. And Arctic fox, these are the some of the examples. You can get many more examples also. Are just a few that call the Arctic tundra home. There are the plants as well, such as bearberry, caribou moss, and the lavender tea. This is the bearberry. See, everywhere there is the ice. See, so these are the examples of the plants and the animals in forest, in wetlands, and in other areas, in deserts, in Arctic tundra, or the other different types of. I have covered there four, but there are lots of different natural habitats. So you can get different types of the plants and animals acclimatized or the specified for that area, and very diversity or the diverse types of the animals, plants, and all different species, their habitat, their abode, and their food, their breeding ground, and we can say that prey predator relationship, everything is maintained, and everything we can see that in different types of the ecosystem, different types of the ecology. And from this we can study the natural habitat of this type of the areas. Okay, so next topic will continue in the next lecture. Thank you for the today. Thank you so much.